Okay, I think it's time we can get started here. Hey everyone, I'm Jen Starks. I'm with All Things Neuro. I'm the business development manager here in Georgia. We have a team also in Ohio, and really grateful you took the time to be here. We started these webinars a few months ago with the idea of bringing different topics around neurotrauma, and grateful that Jim Mathis is here with us today to speak on coding, and I think this is going to be an amazing talk that we're also going to record for those who couldn't make it. Before we get started, I just want to briefly talk about All Things Neuro, our mission, and why we're doing. So All Things Neuro, I'll just put this whole thing on here so you can see it while I'm speaking. We are a marketing and case management company that looks to be a comprehensive solution related to anything with neurotrauma. We contract out highly credentialed medical providers from all angles, whether it's a neurologist, neuropsychologist, psychologist, functional neurologist. We have a whole team under our belt to be able to provide top-notch care for anyone who's been traumatically injured in their brain. So our goal is to have a continuity of care so that from the beginning all the way to the end of their treatment, their needs are going to be met, whether it's through an evaluation, through treatment and testing, all the way to the end with life care plans. So our goal is to be able to be basically a one-stop shop for anything related to neurotrauma. We have a number of companies inside All Things Neuro that specialize in the different areas that are all independent. So you can be rest assured that from the start to the end, we have highly credentialed, independent professionals that are meeting the needs of your clients. So hopefully you will be able to reach out and we can connect. Love to get to know your firm, your company, so we can figure out how we can be a solution for you. And I'm going to put a plug in now, but I'm going to do it at the end as well. We're very excited. This fall, we're going to be hosting our first neurotrauma conference here in Atlanta. Please save the date. Our registrations are open. We're looking for sponsors. To find out more information, it's allthingsneuro.com/conference. And we're very excited about hosting this here. Speakers all around the country on both the medical side and the legal side are going to be providing amazing different array of topics all around your trauma. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen real quick. Jim, if you can, we're going to switch you over to you as the presenter. Before we introduce you now, I would like for you to briefly talk about Sequoia if you're willing to do that. Otherwise, we can jump right into the presentation.
Oh, hi. Good morning. This is Jim Mathis. Can you hear me? Oh, good.
Yes, we can hear you.
I own several companies, but the one that is most dedicated to personal injury is Sequoia Visions. We have legal software. We have medical software. We have about 10,000 law firms using our legal software, and we innovate new processes or procedures to get the maximum settlement value that we can for each of our clients. We also have free consulting, and we have a network of experts around the country that we can bring in, as well as attorneys that can take the case to litigation if you're out of the shop for a while, or you need somebody to step in on a large case. So you can always reach us at 888-SEQUOIA.
Great. Thank you for sharing that. And maybe in our chat section can put a little bit more information on how to find out more, like get the phone number, the website, any other things that I think would be great for them to follow up with you. So Jim, I met you several years ago at a conference, and some of the things that you mentioned in that particular talk on Colossus was a huge value add that I know our law firm took away a lot, and I know you've had a long track record. I'm just going to briefly introduce you, but I would love for you to I know that you have your PowerPoint, but maybe give a little background of like how you got into it, because it's a fantastic story. So, Jim Mathis is an accomplished insurance industry expert, consultant, and speaker with decades of experience advising law firms and medical professionals nationwide. As the owner of Sequoia Visions, he has developed innovative software solutions tailored to the evolving needs of the legal and medical communities, addressing complex challenges in claim handling and documentation. Drawing on extensive leadership roles within the insurance industry, including managing high volume claim departments and leading major process innovations, Jim offers unparalleled insight into claim practices, negotiation strategies, and medical claim presentations. His unique expertise has made him a sought-after lecturer for trial lawyers associations, medical associations, and specialized seminars on topics such as bad faith litigation, breach of contract, and consumer violations. Jim is widely recognized for bridging the gap between medical documentation and legal strategy, empowering professionals to build stronger cases and achieve better outcomes for their clients. So without further ado, welcome, Jim. Thank you.
Okay, you want me to put my PowerPoint up now, right?
Yes, we are moving you as presenter, so you can go ahead and share your screen.
And everybody can see the screen? Jen, can you see it?
Yes, you are right there, all set.
Okay, great. Again, my name is James Mathis. I go by Jim. I've given 272 seminars. That's 8-hour and 16-hour and even 24-hour seminars for since 1995. I worked for the insurance industry for pretty close to 12 years. I was superintendent of claims for the entire Northwest, so I've been involved on the insurance side and on the PI side. I've tried to introduce the process of documentation and presentation of your client or patient's claim so as to do two things. One, to get all of the diagnosis accepted, the duration, type, and frequency of treatment accepted, and that includes future treatment as well, and then get a fair value of settlement for the client. So with that in mind, I'm going to go through the presentation, and I understand that we're going to have an opportunity for questions at the end of the seminar, so I'll go through it as quickly as I can so we can get all the questions answered. Right now, there are 87 different software programs used by the insurance industry. They use those to reduce or deny medical billings with their medical determination software, and they have claim evaluation software so that the adjusters don't have to have any intelligence. They just have to be a data inputter. There is one manual process still in use, and that's called TEACH, T-E-A-C-H. I created that for State Farm in 1992, and they're still using it today. There are available 10,720 value drivers and 17,000 severity drivers that you can identify in your medical reports and in your demands if you know what those value drivers and severity drivers are. And I doubt if anybody knows all of them, including myself, but we've developed software so that you don't have to know them. It'll automatically prompt you and include the value drivers and severity drivers and the multipliers. There's currently 1,600 different insurance claim practice procedure programs. So if you're using either a demand program or a medical program, make sure that they access and understand and know what those claim practice procedures are. For example, State Farm program is ACE, Advancing Claim Excellence. We have, let's see, there's Farmers and Mutual of Enumclaw uses ACME. There is another one that's used that's very well known. I think everybody has heard of Colossus, that's used by Progressive, Allstate, several other large insurers. State Farm uses Teach, though. It doesn't rely on software. So, with that in mind, you have to make sure that every single body part injury is diagnosed along with the correct ICD-10 code and description and type. And this includes traumatic brain injuries and post-traumatic stress syndrome. I want you to recognize I do not use the term, and I've never used the term MTBI because it just doesn't make sense. There's no such thing as a mild traumatic brain injury. That doesn't make sense. It's contradictory in its terms. PTSD is huge. We started introducing that along about 10, 11, 12 years ago. We've now worked it up pretty good so that we are seeing somewhere in the range of 3 to 5 times the value of the claim after we get the maximum value for the biological injuries and manifestations associated with that. We want to make sure that our treatment modalities and cost are clearly stated and supported by the symptoms, and there is a full range of symptoms. And keep in mind that a symptom is not an injury, and an injury is not a symptom. Physician type has a direct impact on the value associated with any injury. And at some point, we have to identify a body part that has reached static MMI. The nice thing about diagnosing ligament injuries, cervical, thoracic, lumbar, lumbosacral, and pelvic regions, is that there is almost zero curative treatment other than medication that can be provided for the ligament injuries. So we reach static MMI on those injuries, and that allows us to determine an impairment rating relatively soon. And impairment ratings are huge, but I want you to keep in mind impairment has no value in any of the insurance software. You can have a 60% whole body impairment rating, and it doesn't add any value without you documenting, the medical doctor and documenting, and the attorney stating in their demands the duties under duress because of the impairment and the loss of enjoyment factors under because of the impairment rating. And there is a form that we offer that you can use for your clients to fill out, provide to the treating physician, and make it a part of the medical record. The nice thing about the duties under duress and loss of enjoyment and complete diagnostic workup with TBI and PTSD where it's available, that supports future treatment. Right now, we're getting extensive future treatment accepted, even to end of life for most of the victims that have traumatic brain injury or PTSD. So keep that in mind. If you don't have all of your diagnostic workup, there's one thing I do want to add in here real quick. If you have disc injuries and you don't have any ligament, tendon, or muscle injuries in the cervical, thoracic, lumbar, lumbosacral, pelvic, or in the specific regions that you have disc injuries, and those disc injuries are going to be suspect as being pre-existing. So make sure that your doctors make sure that the attorneys are stating all of the injuries, not just the demonstrable injuries. And then, of course, you have a final prognosis. So we're going to be going through specific parts of each of those. I want you to recognize that you can screen for TBI and PTSD, but not until after the 21st calendar day from the date of the accident. And you can use the PCL-5 questionnaire. That's the one we recommend and we've been using for the last 7 years. It's perfect. We go over it with our clients and our patients. We provide it to them so they can see it. We tell them not to complete it until after the 21st day because it's not valid until after the 21st day. Once we get that completed, then we can go ahead and make a referral to several different areas. One would be consulting, because they have to have, not consulting, counseling, because there's manifestations of the PTSD and TBI that require counseling. And then also we look to all things neuro is an example of neurologists, neuropsychs, and counselors that can help us document the PTSD and TBI and manifestations and establish future treatment almost every time to end of life. So it's a significant claim. Those types of claims usually maximize their value within 120 days. You might consider using Roe. Roe will come in, and I'll explain them a little bit later. They'll come in and do a complete analysis and workup of the injuries, including PTSD and TBI, and they do a 1-hour telemedicine interview. They write an extensive report, and they will include referrals out to TBI and PTSD treating facilities in your area. So all of that's available for both the treating physicians as well as the represented law firm. Be prepared to address and support medical necessity of treatment. Again, if you don't have the diagnostic workup done, when I first entered into the PI side, the plaintiff side of personal injury, the first thing I noticed is it was standard to see somewhere between 6 and 8 body part injuries, sometimes as few as 4. And it just blew me away, because if you have a muscle, a tendon, and a ligament injured in, let's say, the cervical, thoracic, lumbar, lumbosacral areas, that alone is 12 injuries. And then AOMSI injuries on top of that in those cervical regions. So how can you only have 6 injuries? Then if you include PTSD and TBI, and keep in mind, PTSD is like the little sister of the big brother TBI. TBI victims will experience PTSD. It's just, like I said, it's the little sister of the big brother. It's going to happen. But you need separate diagnosis for each, and you need, most of the time, separate treatment. We are going to go through later on in the seminar some of the treatment that I found to be a guideline that you can help with your clients and patients in understanding how they're going to be helped. You need to address minor impact injuries at the beginning. We have a body shop questionnaire that solves that problem. So we don't have minor impacts in our medical or legal customers that use our medical suite or demand online. Prepare for denial and future treatment costs. it's important that you understand what are the triggers that get rid of those denials or declinations. And we already have 137 responses pre-formatted to respond to that. Keep in mind, adjusters have no responsibility for value or settling the claim anymore. It's all determined by the software that the insurance company forces upon the adjuster. They want the adjuster to use it and believe in it, and it's their Bible, so don't have a brain, don't use your intelligence, just forget that you have experience, just use the software and offer the settlement authority that is extended because of what the software has determined the injury and the claim is worth. So the adjusters have no responsibility. They have a take it or leave it attitude. They really don't care. In fact, the adjusters currently are soliciting litigation against their own insured just to force everybody on the plaintiff's side and the claimants and the victims to accept the offers that they make. And that in my book, when I started for the insurance company and went back to corporate and learned about bad faith, and that would be bad faith, soliciting litigation against your policyholder. Okay, injuries. Always diagnosed by body part. No longer do we have, I think when I first started back in 87, it was a cervical sprain strain, thoracic sprain strain, lumbar sprain strain. Okay, what we need are cervical muscle sprain strain, cervical tendon sprain strain. It has to be specific and use the appropriate ICD-10 code. We also need to screen for PTSD and TBIs, and if you want to know the ICD-10 code for PTSD, it's right there on the screen there, F31-11. That's the initial underlying code, and then there's going to be other manifestations and injuries and associated symptoms that you need to have the codes for. There's a PTSD checklist, the DSM-5, PCL-5 questionnaire. You can download that. Just put in PCL-5 in your browser. It'll give you the questionnaire. It'll also give you the grading process, and that can help you incredibly because you're going to give that questionnaire to your clients or patients when they first come in, and then you want them to be comfortable, and you need to explain some of the questions on that questionnaire because it is deceiving. That way, when they do complete it after the 21st day following the accident, you will get a diagnosis of PTSD. You also have to have early objective testing, so make sure that's complete within the first 30 days following the accident. So injuries that are in Colossus and available, but require a separate manual evaluation, or I've shown those in yellow. So concussion is in Colossus, but it requires a manual evaluation and corporate validating that evaluation. Post-traumatic stress syndrome is another area in the evaluation software for adjusters, but it has to be validated or confirmed by corporate office, either through a round table or what is called a claim memo back to corporate. Disc injuries, herniation, bulge, prolapse, protrusion, and when you do identify those injuries, you're identifying those with MRI. Make sure that your neurologist and your orthopedic surgeon are addressing where there may have been pre-existing injuries that have now been either readdressed by this injury or exacerbated by this injury or aggravated by this accident, so that it's recognized as one of the injuries that the adjusters must place a value on. Crush, extensive soft tissue, degloving, contusions all have value. Soft tissue, whiplash, bruising, hematoma, make sure that those are documented. Dislocation, fractures, fracture dislocation, laceration or penetrating injury requires sutures. Make sure that we have those. Those bring significant value because none of the insurance software can place value on laceration, dog bites, PTSD, concussion. They can accept it in, and the way that the software deals with those injuries, the concussion and PTSD, is that it, or what do we call anxiety? What is it? Anxiety. Anyway, if you have an anxiety disorder, it is also accepted by Colossus or the other software, but all it does is impact what is accepted for the orthopedic injuries. The value has to be entered manually by the adjuster after getting authority permission from either mid-range management or corporate if it goes over $25,000 to $50,000 in value. Ligament, tendon, and cartilage injuries must be documented and usually involve surgery or it has reached a static MMI. So make sure that those are documented. Superficial injuries are significant and bring value, and they support that the injuries were caused by this accident, the orthopedic injuries. Subluxation doesn't bring a great deal of value anymore, but it's still being diagnosed by mostly chiropractors. And then your sprain strains. So those are the injury types that we want to get documented both in our medical reports and our demands. So now, reasons to test for traumatic brain injury and PTSD is to prevent disabilities, prevent addictions, and prevent suicide in our victims that are injured because of auto accidents, premise accidents, dog bites, multiple different ways. I don't know that you know this, but insurance, homeowners insurance, does pay for rape victims. If the babysitter, say, was raped by the husband, the wife still is a member of the contract for the policy for the house, so we can satisfy the damages and reimburse that rape victim from the homeowner's insurance. Physician-guided exercise, rehabilitation based on confident and effective treatment plans. Anticipate that the insurer is going to either deny or disclaim the coverage or necessity and reasonableness of the treatment. They're going to try to deny or disclaim that cost. Medical evidence of injury again requires that you have a complete diagnostic workup of the injuries, including TBI and PTSD, supported by research. And that's why we have significant research studies in the manual that Jan Starks put up, and with the pages identified. Now I'm going to identify them here in a later screen, so you can go directly to the pages and download those and use those expert opinions on different types of PTSD victims. Treatment modalities and costs must be complete, must be accurate, and there is a difference between passive, which is considered by the insurance industry as being provided by an external treating physician and charged. And then you have active, which adds huge value. For example, active treatment would be self-exercise at home. That supports duration, type, and frequency of the passive treatment, such as manipulation, physical therapy, and even surgery. But if you have that active treatment, it supports duration, type, and frequency. Use of the 1500 CMS form, anticipate reduction. The current software in Genix is just terrible, and there's several lawsuits, but they are regional lawsuits. They have not entered into the federal market yet. Duration, type, and frequency, and customary charge is determined by Ingenix to be close to 10% of what the market is currently supporting. Okay, symptoms to watch for if you have an opportunity to treat an accident victim, whether it's a car accident or premise accident or dog bite, or even domestic violence, intrusion, re-experiencing the accident or the incident over and over again. It's memories that are recurrent. That's something to watch for. If you have traumatic nightmares or flashbacks, if your patient has that's a good sign that they may have PTSD. There are clusters that you can download, and you can write that down, tethered to PTSD.com. You can get the PTSD symptom clusters, so that'll help you identify the victims that have PTSD. Persistent avoidance of stimuli, that's a constant concern with PTSD and TBI victims. Avoiding trauma-related thoughts. In fact, you may have heard your clients say, well, I don't drive that route anymore. When I take my kids to school, I take an alternative route, so I don't have to go through the intersection where we were T-boned. In fact, there's an accident that I just settled in Wisconsin, which is a very conservative state, and we had a semi come up on an intersection, and they were to the right of a SUV that had mom, dad, and two children, and on the opposite direction coming towards the SUV, there was a vehicle that had a newlywed couple, and the newlywed couple weren't paying attention to the four-way stop. They creeped into the intersection. The semi got a call from his boss. He was 2 hours late delivering to Safeway. So he was speeding. He was clocked at over 70 miles an hour in a 35-mile-an-hour zone. And the people in the family in the SUV, John was driving the SUV. They were sitting there watching the newlyweds creep into the intersection, and then the semi not only hitting them in the left front quarter panel of the vehicle, spinning it around, and then the rear end of the vehicle was caught by the trailer that was being pulled by the tractor and crushed. So we had two fatalities in that. No injuries to the John's family, his wife, and the two children, but we got for John's family, I settled that in Wisconsin for not just the commercial policy of $1 million plus the umbrella of another million, and then I went after Safeway's CGL, corporate general liability, and got another $30 million from Safeway. So, but it all had to be documented, and fortunately, the attorney that was on the claim, he was about a 2-year out of law school. His name was Abraham, and he called me up and he said, "Hey, what do I do?" And so we walked through them and got everything done. Within 6 months, we had that claim set up. We went through a mediation that didn't go anywhere, and finally we filed a lawsuit, and they paid before judgment the $35 million in settlement. Your PTSD victims will have negative alterations in cognitions and mood, distorted beliefs about themselves and the world. So keep that in mind. Sometimes I think maybe some of our presidents have PTSD. Feelings of alienation, inability to recall key details of the incident that they were involved in. They actually feel shame or guilt that they somehow caused the trauma. They have emotional numbing. They have marked alterations in arousal and reactivity, irritability, sleep disturbance, hypervigilance, difficulty in concentrating, reckless behavior. So all of those are signs, and you can ask for the PowerPoint. I'll send it over to Jen, and she can send it to you if you want the PowerPoint to help you understand what to watch out for. You can explain this. I got Blanchard and Hickling's CBT treatment schedule. So I thought I'd put it up so that you can explain what goes through the treatment in a PTSD diagnosis. You have the review of the symptoms and diagnosis, and this is done by a counselor or a neurologist or a neuropsych, and they will review the symptoms and diagnosis. They'll provide psychoeducation about the PTSD, and they'll also have progressive muscle relaxation with the chiropractors or the medical doctors or physical therapists should be involved in. Excuse me. They'll have the victim read a written description, well, create a written description of the motor vehicle accident and then read that aloud. That allows them to associate with that and not avoid it. They'll have a discussion of avoidance and PMR. Coping with self-statements is significant for the victim so that they recognize they are not the bad person. It's actually the PTSD that was caused by the incident, whether it's a premise, a dog bite, altercation, rape, auto accident, whatever. Creation of avoidance hierarchy, exposure instructions. So they'll give an actual treatment, and it's a walkthrough that they do over a period of several weeks. With the victim, meeting with significant other. That's really important because if the wife has the PTSD or the children have the PTSD, you want to involve the father and the other family members, even siblings or possible friends that are significant, so that there can be a local support group for the PTSD victim. PMR, this is the 8-muscle version for PMR, and the chiropractors can follow that, or the physical therapist can assist in that. They do a cognitive reappraisal, discussion of avoidance, and then again, they continue with the 4-muscle version of the PMR. Discussion of avoidance hierarchy exposure continued. And this is over a period of months, sometimes even longer, because PTSD, like TBI, is not just over in 30 days. It doesn't resolve in 6 months. It is, for the most part, if it's actually PTSD or TBI, it's going to be an end of life. It doesn't mean that it cannot be managed, controlled if you get with a good neurologist, neuropsych to do that. Discussion of avoidance, exposure continued, cue controlled relaxation, exploring existential issues concerning mortality. That's very important because you do recognize in TBI and PTSD victims a tendency for suicide. Interventions to address estrangement and social isolation, anger management. This interrupts the family. So the PTSD and the TBI that was caused by a third party auto accident can impact the entire family, not just the driver of the injured or innocent party. It can affect the entire family. Discussion of avoidance, again, that exposure is continued, and then review all of the treatment procedures. But so you can see this is a very extensive process, and it doesn't happen overnight. It goes on and continues over a number of years to manage that and keep the manifestations and symptoms of TBI and PTSD under control. What is significant is you really have to have prompt treatment with a qualified professional. Otherwise, it's going to get worse, and it's either going to end up in suicide or even other deviant behavior. So what I'm seeing in medical reports and demands is we're missing diagnosis for PTSD. We're finding demand online attorneys are finding that it exists in almost 92% of our current incidents right now. 92%. Treatment, however, is not supported. Testing isn't done early, or it's missing entirely. We don't have an impairment rating, and keep in mind we have to have a minimum 2% whole body impairment rating. While impairment ratings have no value themselves, they do support duties under duress and loss of enjoyment. Future treatment is not curative or supported, and the term MMI is constantly used by treating physicians. If it's not specific to a body part, the insurance industry is using that as a defense against paying for the injuries that have not achieved MMI, maximum medical improvement. So possible TBI and PTSD are either missed or completely ignored. I recommend, and we use Ro to do a Skype interview. I got that idea from watching MASH. So we do an orthopedic surgeon and a neurologist will do a 1-hour telemedicine interview, and it's televised. They go over all of the manifestations. They go over the injuries. They go over the causality, the neurological intake, possible TBI and PTSD. The injuries are recommended to be diagnosed. The symptoms are documented. And then the treatment to date is determined to be reasonable, necessary. So you get all of that in the Ro Skype interview. It's 1 hour, and right now they have an abbreviated form or process for $400, which is damn good for two doctors, an orthopedic surgeon and a neurologist. And then they have the extensive form. Is anywhere from a 20 to 30 page report, and that costs $800. So Roe, this is how you get a hold of Roe, and they have a comprehensive post-traumatic injury screening. Future treatment has to be stated in dollar amount, and it must be validated or determined by a medical doctor, even though a chiropractor is best qualified to determine future chiropractic treatment. It has to be validated by a medical doctor. We have a network of validating doctors throughout the United States, so you can use them. Must have the correct prognosis, have a body part that has achieved a body part, not the patient, has achieved static MMI. Future treatment must be described as either probable or definite. A body part at static MMI is necessary. We just have to have one. That's the nice thing about the ligament injuries is they have achieved static MMI at the end of 30 days usually. And then we can use the 6th edition as long as we get 2% impairment to determine what the actual impairment is. And once we have an impairment, then we can get the duties under duress. The manifestation goes directly to determining settlement value for general damages. So you'll see duties under duress under work, study, domestic, household, as long as the patient or victim is experiencing pain when they do any of those duties, go to work, take care of the kids, go grocery shopping, clean the house, whatever. And then loss of enjoyment, if you take the word enjoyment and replace it with opportunity, then this makes more sense for your clients and your patients. They lost the opportunity for study because of the impairment. They lost the opportunity for work. They lost the opportunity for responsibilities, taking care of the house inside, and then the household outside is next. And then they lost the opportunity to participate in hobbies or sports. Final prognosis, we always use ongoing complaints and continuing treatment. If we don't use that prognosis, then future treatment costs are going to be denied. Here are the pages in the manual. It begins at 135, ends at page 171, and these are expert opinions, and they are all footnoted, so those are available in the manual. Okay, so what we've gone through in this short time is including TBI and PTSD in your injury diagnostic workup. And attorneys, you have to get your doctors to recognize that opportunity or possibility within the first 30 days. Treatment modalities, symptoms, physician type, complications, impairment, duties under duress, loss of enjoyment, final prognosis, and add-ons. So all of that is necessary to address the 87 and growing individual insurance software's declinations or denials or reduction of settlement offers. And in fact, we have a seminar that we're putting on in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. It's an all-inclusive, so it includes your room and food and everything else at the resort. I think there's about 56 different inclusive costs in that, and that's March 23rd to 27th in 2026. And you can call Bill, Dr. Gallagher, for more information, and I put his phone number and his email address. Sequoia Visions is a company I own, and we have over 10,000 law firms and 7,000 treating clinics throughout the country. We're in all 50 states, and we're also in Mexico. If you need to get a hold of me, I'll be happy to talk about this issue or any other issue you have. I give free consulting, so you can call me at 888-SEQUOIA 737-8642. And I've just completed a brief discussion on PTSD and TBI in a little over 45 minutes. So, Jenna, I'm done. Do you have any questions?
Thank you, Jim. That was amazing. And if you do want this PowerPoint presentation, I'm happy to share it. I do have a copy of it. We are also recording this, so we'll be sending out the recording as well for you to have. There are some questions, and we have about 6 minutes, and you did a huge presentation in a very short period of time, so I'm impressed. It's a challenge when you have so much information, especially in your head, when you're like, I have so much more to say, and to keep it concise. So Dan Chamberlain did ask, how do you encourage the healthcare provider to submit the proper ICD codes? Many times the doctor's office only puts in 1 or 2 ICD codes.
Oh, it's real easy. You can get Roe to come in, do a abbreviated workup, and they will provide you the ICD code. So if the treating physician doesn't include the codes, Roe gives you the code, so you can use Roe to get your codes in there and possible injuries that the treating physician has missed, because they do miss a lot of injuries, so that'll help. You can also get MRS, Medical Review Services. Sandra Hassan can give you all of the codes for the injuries that you have and send it directly to the treating physician. And MRS is recognized nationally. You can get a medical doctor to validate the injuries and provide the code. And we have a network of medical doctor validators. And this is especially good for chiropractors because coding and injuries and symptoms are not accepted from chiropractors by the insurance industry anyway.
That was actually one of my leading questions, in that it sounds like the credentials do matter. And does it matter in the first evaluation if it goes to a chiropractor versus an MD?
No, not if it's subsequently validated by a medical doctor. And if you're talking about TBI or PTSD, it's got to be a counselor that has been involved with the VA PTSD process of workups and national strategies for treating. It's got to be a neuropsych, a neurologist, psychologist, somebody who has the credentials. But the initial is going to be based on recognizing the symptoms and then completing the PCL-5 questionnaire after the 21st day. You can't do it before. After the 21st day. With that, then, doctors just make a referral. Send it over to All Things Neuro and make the referral. The chiropractors are going to continue being a part of the recovery process and treatment protocol. You're not going to lose the patient, but what you're going to gain is now your duration, time, and frequency of treatment and your cost is not going to be questioned. It's not going to be denied because you have this other umbrella that is protecting you in treating those biological injuries. The PTSD and the TBI does that.
Gotcha. Yeah. So the validation. Are you noticing any differences in case values when it's telehealth versus in person, whether it's the initial evaluation or even some treatments that are done telehealth?
No, not anymore. The nice thing about COVID, if there's any nice thing about COVID, is it allowed telemedicine to become an accepted and accredited process. And intake on certain types of injuries, such as PTSD and TBI, telemedicine works really well on a weekly, monthly basis to maintain the support that manages those injuries or infections that are caused by the accidents, so that the person can live a normal life. So you can do the telemedicine, but COVID solved that problem for us.
I don't mean to hog all the questions. I had a bunch. I was kind of shimming away as you were talking, but we have time for one more question. I have one more in my little question sidebar, but if anyone has one, please unmute yourself and ask Jim a question.
That's it? Hello?
Okay, I get to take the last one then. My last question is, one of the issues we have here in Georgia is that the minimum policy limits are 25, 50, and we have a lot of attorneys that think that unless it's a high value case, 100 up, they kind of skip over the neurology side, the neurotrauma. And my question to you is, if there was a low policy, but they did have significant neurotrauma issues, what would you say is the ideal mock-up to get full case value? What have you seen to be most effective?
Well, one, I would use Roe. Two, Roe is going to refer it to, like all things Neuro, for at least a preliminary determination, investigation, and analysis, and possible treatment or curative program going forward. Then, once the auto insurance is exhausted, that protects the victim from suicide, from major anger issues, and it can be paid for by the health insurance once the auto insurance exhausts. So, I mean, it's an absolute. A doctor's responsibility is to diagnose all of the injuries and at least give an analysis and determine a curative plan for the victim. That has to be done. So, I mean, you never stop. Even if there's not a policy, you still want the victims to go and get a workup, a diagnostic workup, and a curative treatment plan going forward. And that can be paid by health insurance, disability insurance, Medicare, Medicaid, all of those other insurers. It doesn't have to be an auto insurer.
Right. That makes sense. Well, we are at the top of the hour. Thank you, Jim, again for sharing your knowledge, your wisdom, your experience, and taking the time to be with us here today. We hope we'll be able to get you to come back. And I do know that you're going to be with us in October. One more plug. Please, please, please register, consider sponsoring, have a vendor table, come to our first inaugural Southeast Neurotrauma Conference here in Atlanta. Mark the calendars, October 24th through 26th. And I'm Jen Starks. I'm with All Things Neuro. And thank you for coming. Enjoy the rest of your day and have a great weekend. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.